Hi guys, I'm Jenn Johns. Welcome back to the channel. Today I have another episode of my amazing homemade candies for you. Now, this is probably the one that was absolutely most requested out of all of the homemade candies that I've been receiving, and it is homemade Jolly Ranchers. I'm going to be showing you how to make homemade Jolly Ranchers. They're the little rectangle ones. You can also do them square if you prefer. And then I'm going to be showing you how to do them in lollipop form. So kind of like two videos here. And you know, like at Christmas time when you have gifts that you have to give to people that are like not always on your list, but you want to come off as like this really cool person that gives gifts to like everybody, but you don't have a lot of money and you kind of want to be cheap with your gift? Or is that just me? But anyways, I think that making these homemade lollipops and giving them away to gifts for Christmas time to like anybody that you meet is a brilliant idea. So let's get started on this tutorial. To make our homemade Jolly Rancher candies, we're going to be using 1.5 cups of granulated sugar. We need 3/4 of a cup of clear corn syrup. You can use dark corn syrup if that's all you have, but it will affect the color and it may affect the flavor slightly. We need 1/2 cup of water. And then the secret to Jolly Ranchers is in the citric acid. We're going to be using 1/4 teaspoon to 1/2 teaspoon. You can even add more if you want to. Now, citric acid is a naturally occurring fruit acid, and what we use it for is to enhance the flavor of the candy. We're going to use a gel paste to add a bit of color to the candies. You don't have to, but if you want that traditional Jolly Rancher look, you do need to add a little bit of color to it. And for the flavoring, the original flavors are watermelon, grape, raspberry, apple, and cherry. My favorite is a blue raspberry, so I'm going to be showing you guys how to make the blue raspberry, but all of the flavors, you would follow the exact same procedure that I'm going to show you up next. And if you're looking for the candy flavoring, I find mine at Bulk Barn in Canada, and you can also get them at different kinds of craft stores or cake decorating stores, and I'll also put a link in the description box to everything that you need here. So I've got my sugar here in a saucepan on top of my element. I'm going to put it on to around a medium heat, and I'm going to add in my water and the corn syrup. And these are the only ingredients that we put in at this point. So what I'm going to do is just stir it until the sugar actually dissolves. And then once the sugar is dissolved, I can put my candy thermometer into the pot. And then we're going to heat it to what's known as hard crack, which is around 300 to 310 degrees Fahrenheit. Once your candy has come to temperature, we're going to add in our other ingredients. So I'm putting in my coloring, and it's going to bubble and hiss on us here. And I'm putting in 1.5 of these little drams of the flavoring. You can do that, adjust it to your flavor, to your desire, whatever you want it to taste like. I just found that one wasn't quite enough to get that real Jolly Rancher flavor. So while it's still nice and hot here, I'm going to add in 1/2 teaspoon of the citric acid. So again, if you actually, like when I was testing this recipe, I had a real Jolly Rancher and went, you know what, it's way tartar than I remember it being. So you could even put more of that citric acid in if you so choose. So I've got this nice blue color here. You just want to keep stirring it until most of those bubbles are kind of gone. It's kind of working them out here. If you leave the bubbles in, it's really no big deal. It just gives a little bit of texture to the candy, and you might want it to be a little bit more smooth. You can see it happens quite quickly. Now I'm going to pour it into, I've just got a bread pan here with a parchment paper lined in here. I'm just going to let it cool in here. Now I'm going to let it cool for about 20 minutes or until I'm able to start cutting it. And then I will show you how to score it after we've let it cool for a bit. Once the Jolly Rancher mixture has cooled, we can remove it from the pan here and just flatten out the parchment. Now what we're going to do now is score it. So I'm just taking a sharp knife that I've got, I've sprayed it with some nonstick spray, and I'm just making the places where I want the candy to be able to break or cut once it's cooled completely. So you want to do this while it's still relatively warm, because that's the only time. Once it gets really hard, you aren't able to manipulate it like this. It will just crack on you. So if you wait too long, it doesn't work, but if you do it too soon, you actually will find that it's really difficult to cut and that your cut lines will disappear and that it will just melt back together. So what I'm doing is I'm just starting at the center and then I'm working my way towards the outside here. And once your knife starts to get a little bit sticky, you can reapply the nonstick spray or vegetable oil, whatever you've got handy. So once I've got it going that direction, I'm going to turn the other way, and I'm starting in the middle both times because what I found is like when I'm working, it does press the Jolly Rancher little area here. It changes the shape of it, and I just found that working from the middle and outwards towards the outside had the least impact on the shape. It still does change it, as you can see, but it's kind of the easiest rather than starting at one side. Once the Jolly Rancher slab has cooled, you can either break it with your hands here, or you can use a knife or something to actually cut it in half. It's quite easy to break into these little pieces, so I just kind of prefer to do that. And then if they end up like together like that, you can take a sharp knife and then just help it along like that. So I'm just going to finish breaking these all up, and then you can wrap them up in like little pieces of plastic if you want to, and you could put them in a little jar and give them to your friends. Makes a cool little gift. So I'm going to show you how to do the lollipops next. So to make the lollipops, what I'm going to do is use this sphere mold. It's just got nice little round domes on the other side. Now you're going to take the lollipop or the Jolly Rancher pieces that either you didn't like or you just have extras if you want to, and you want to really squish them into the mold. It's going to misshape the mold to start with, but what you want is it to have enough inside of it that when it goes to melt, it fills up the whole thing, or you'll end up with like kind of a weird wonky looking little like sucker there. So I'm going to pop these into the oven. It's preheated at 275 degrees, and I'm going to put it in for about 15 to 18 minutes. I want to make sure that all of the Jolly Ranchers have melted completely. So once the Jolly Ranchers have melted in the little mold, all you have to do is take a lollipop stick and insert it into the center there, just pressing down to the bottom. And it will be a little bit wobbly if you try to do it while they're still super, super hot. So you can let them cool briefly before trying to put the sticks in. So you can see they just kind of start to tilt over. But I've got some ones over here that I have already finished. And I'm just going to pop them out. You just have to like play with the mold. And because you had them like shoved in here quite hard, you got to pop them out. So there we go, a little Jolly Rancher lollipop. So there you go, everybody, how to make homemade Jolly Rancher candies. It's totally easy, and I hope you guys thought so too. Don't go easy on the citric acid, because that is definitely what makes it a true Jolly Rancher, or you just made yourself a plain old lollipop. Now, you know that I love the blue raspberry, like I told you guys, and the watermelon though, it's delicious too. Totally amazing. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and leave me a comment about what homemade candy you want to see me make next, and I might just pick yours. And thank you so much to everybody who suggested Jolly Ranchers, because this was a delicious tutorial. See you guys all again next time. Bye.